I'm pretty sure this was the one that someone asked me to react to. It is Asta versus Naruto. And if we're giving Naruto Baryon mode, Asta wins. If we're giving Naruto Sage of Six Paths mode plus QB mode, he could probably outlast Asta's time limit. So, my money's on Asta on winning this fight.
Haired main characters with demons within them, both striving to become the most respected heroes, that being the Hokage as well as the Wizard King. Hello everyone, my name is Toaster XD, and today we're covering Naruto versus Asta. I actually asked this question on my community tab and got very mixed responses, so Daddy's here to give you—
I'm pretty sure Asta wins, because anti-magic is anti-chakra. Most of Naruto's jutsu is gone, so he's gonna have to use his chakra to amp up his physical stats, and it looks like he's going with the Sage of Six Paths mode, so honestly, if we're giving him that mode, he honestly could beat Asta. But Asta, if we're going with the latest manga chapters, Asta has become so goddamn strong. Like, I'm honestly thinking of giving this dub to Asta.
You the answer to it. And with me today, I have the Legend of Black Clover content himself, Broku. So if you end up enjoying this video, be sure to like and subscribe. Enjoy the video.
Within the war arc of Naruto, we would actually get introduced to several new metas when it actually comes to scaling Naruto, and a lot of these methods are very contentious, so I can go over the sort of non-refutable arguments when it actually comes to actually scaling him. And just for starters, we can actually just pretty concretely scale him to Momoshiki. Considering Momoshiki's superior power as an Otsutsuki when compared to Kaguya, he should possess tremendous raw strength and be capable of performing even more impressive feats than Kaguya. Momoshiki, along with Kinshiki, was actually fully aware of the chakra presence that was happening on Earth, and the spatial curvature, which Kinshiki actually refers to as a 16, when they actually expected a 10. They would then later find out that the spatial curvature was actually mainly due to Naruto. It's not only this, but Sasuke, someone who actually faced Kaguya, was actually convinced that Kinshiki alone was actually a threat that was surpassing Kaguya.
Really? Damn.
So it's probably logical to assume that even a unfused Momoshiki would be comparable to Kaguya, and if not, even greater and stronger, as Momoshiki is over Kinshiki. And if Sasuke thinks Kinshiki is at least a threat that surpasses Kaguya, Momoshiki would still be indeed stronger. And this is a unfused one, as I said prior. With her full powers, Kaguya had the ability to create a large truth-seeking orb that could engulf and destroy her Genesis dimension. This is supported by the 4th data book, which also goes on to describe Naruto's black orbs behind him, which we now know are truth-seeking orbs. Although obviously these ones behind Naruto aren't the same size as the one Kaguya actually created. However, the orbs are comprised of all 5 elements and possess both
yin and yang
energy, enabling it to annihilate the world and reduce it to nothing. It's probably important to emphasize that this feat goes beyond mere destruction.
And to think that Sasuke's Indra arrows, well, his Susanoo arrows, sorry, was able to pierce and deflect the truth-seeking orbs in the last fight. That is fucking amazing.
And actually gives a direct answer to the destruction, emphasizing nothing. As I mentioned earlier, the Genesis planet had 2 moons orbiting in the distance, which we actually see later on that Kaguya's dimensions actually contain things like moons in its orbit, which can get pretty insane when you consider things like Versus Battle Wiki's standards for tiering. Kaguya intended to vaporize everything in her dimension, which, if anything, actually underestimates the situation even more when you consider that the data book suggests that she will obliterate everything in her dimension to absolute nothingness, which Zetsu even comments on the inclusion of time and space within said vaporization. To put it into perspective, if the distance from the Earth and the Moon were to be considered, the radius, according to Google, would be around 384,000 kilometers. It's worth noting that a moon can actually only be a certain—
And did you guys know that if you paint the bottom of your shoe with just 1 layer of paint every day until you die, you're gonna gain as much height as the moon has drifted away from our planet. That's insane. Like, because the moon is moving like 13 millimeters away from Earth every fucking year. That is, obviously, it won't happen in our lifetime, but eventually, the moon is gonna disappear. That is scary. That is fucking
distance
horrifying.
from its planet. So using the distance from the Earth to the moon isn't actually out of the question. So this distance is pretty reasonable to use. Additionally, Kaguya's orb is depicted as exploding in all directions or omnidirectional and not solely towards the moon, as the moon orbits the planet. Accomplishing this would require a force of roughly 6.11 undecillion joules,
Okay, now he's just speaking random numbers.
which is more than enough to destroy an entire planet. Kaguya's dimensions surpass the size of a mere planet, however, and its orbiting celestial bodies. Many people have long debated the extent of her dimensions, questioning whether they even
Guys, I know what it means, but still, fuck
require
off.
a star for illumination. However, we actually have a definitive answer based on official Naruto content. In the Naruto OVA titled The Day Naruto Became Hokage, there is a scene at the end featuring Sasuke, who, while Naruto was becoming Hokage, was shown traversing Kaguya's dimensions,
Yes, and that's Sakura's jacket, if I'm not wrong.
providing a clearer glimpse into what these dimensions might actually contain. What's more is that we see a presence of a fully developed star, as well as an enormous moon orbiting within one of the lesser dimensions. Not only did the glowing moon appear in these dimensions, but it was never intended to glow on its own. Additionally, these dimensions seem to have distinct seasons, as well as complete day and night cycles. This completely disproves the belief that the moons or suns in these dimensions possess artificial lighting, as anyone claiming that the moon or the star is artificial would need to present evidence to support their claim, as it's a
You guys have to understand, Kaguya didn't make those dimensions. It's not artificially made. She's able to connect to those dimensions over her lifetime of being alive. She was able to connect to it, and now with the Rini Sharingan or something like that, I believe, she's now able to teleport through them. So they are separate dimensions that actually exist. It's not artificially made by Kaguya. That's why it has a star, a moon. It doesn't have artificial lighting. It is actually there.
It's impossible to ask the audience to prove a negative.
Because if it wasn't, and it was artificially made by Kaguya, then the moment that they killed her at the end of Naruto, because it stated that they killed her and didn't seal her, it stated that she died, as far as I know. Yeah, then all of those artificial dimensions would have disappeared, and Sasuke would not have been able to travel here or to any of the other Kaguya dimensions in Boruto. So that's why it is not artificially made, and it actually exists.
Based on that principle, the moon is considered a moon and the star should be considered a star. To further prove this, we can actually look at Momoshiki's alternate dimensions that actually contain numerous stars as well as planets and even other celestial bodies, providing further evidence that these dimensions have real rather than fake astronomical objects. If there is a star in Kaguya's dimensions, there should be a considerable distance between the star and the planet, similar to the distance between the Earth and the Sun, which is around 149 million kilometers.
That
Assuming a
is a
sphere of this
shit ton.
size, the energy generated would be a lot, amounting to 360 trillion joules, which is like
Okay,
nuking
now I'm sure he's just saying random numbers.
the
and
solar
letters and
system
words.
with nukes the size of a planet. In essence, it would give Naruto a lot of empirical weight when it actually comes to his scaling, as he would pretty much reach large star level, pretty much just solar system going by this. Furthermore, the attack potency of Kaguya's attacks can be scaled to the power of the expansive truth-seeking orb, as the expansive truth-seeking orb is essentially created by Kaguya using her own chakra, along with the chakra of the Shinobi Alliance. It should be noted that the Shinobi Alliance, even with the power boost given by Naruto, would still not reach the level of the Nine Tails in terms of power. Even without such impressive feats, Kaguya is capable of generating attacks of similar magnitude, especially considering that she was heavily fatigued by the end of the battle. Fatigued Kaguya alone would still reach a power level close to that of Solar System, if not surpass it. Well, as for
No, Kaguya is about multi-dimensional levels of scaling, I believe. Right? Because firstly, she is able to travel through dimensions. and she's able to use the power of the different dimensions to amp up her ninjutsu and so on and so on. So she's able to make herself stronger by absorbing the power from those dimensions. So honestly, I do think she is like higher than Solar System.
Speed, Naruto characters since the beginning of part 1 have exhibited speeds ranging from faster than light to light speed. For example, Haku's ice mirrors were explicitly stated to move at light speed. This is evident when Haku
Yes, and Minato's speed is instantaneous, faster than light speed.
intercepts Kakashi's Raikiri.
Because his flying Raijin doesn't, it's not light speed, it's instantaneous movement. He's 1 second right by you, and in less than a millisecond, he's by the other place. That is probably halfway around the world. So that is instantaneous movement.
Despite being mentally
ever in
enhanced
Naruto.
but physically weaker. Even if one doubts the validity of scaling based on Haku's abilities alone, Itachi's water bullet is also described as detonating at speeds faster than light. Considering this, it's reasonable to assume that Naruto, as a child, can be scaled to this level of speed. In the fight against Haku, Naruto demonstrates his prowess by overpowering him to the point to where Haku admits his inferiority. This marks the pinnacle of Naruto's power in part 1, culminating in his achievement of the one-tailed cloak form during his battle against Sasuke, which is vastly superior to the zero-tailed cloak he used against Haku. Within Shippuden, if we ignore things like Naruto's consistent training throughout the series, we can actually get him to several times the speed of light. Looking at things like the...
And if we're gonna use any Naruto form, we're gonna have to use the one from the movie, The Last. Because that is, as far as I know, Naruto's peak strength in terms of Sage's Six Paths mode. Because after The Last, he does train for a bit, but then he obviously stops because then he has duties as Hokage and he has to look after the village, so he doesn't really have time to train, and then he gets sick, and then he has to he gets extremely sick, and then everybody has to go and find a cure for him, so he doesn't really have much time to train after the movie. And then obviously Baryon mode doesn't really help much because it only lasts for 5 minutes, I think, and because it burns his and Kurama's chakra, so very dumb form. Enjoyed it when it first showed up, but as a form, it's very kind of dumb against anybody else but Ishiki.
curse mark within part 1 of Naruto, where the second stage of the curse mark that Sasuke used against Naruto at the Final Valley is a 10 times amp office base form. This becomes relevant when we consider the fact that this is a senjutsu, which is basically a unrefined version of the Sage Mode transformation Naruto uses against Pain. Sage Mode being a refined version of the curse mark in a way would naturally mean it's superior, granting Sage Mode an amp of at least 2 times that of the curse mark. And again, this is a significant lowball to both Naruto's training as well as the Sage Mode amp.
Sage Mode is broken for anybody in Naruto. You're able to undergo the training and you're able to mix the Senju chakra. It is so stupidly broken. Toad Sage, Snake Sage, probably a Slug Sage, or whatever Sage Hashirama was. It is so broken.
If we consider that KCM is only twice as strong as Sage Mode, as well as KCM2 and the Sage of the Six Paths, we could very easily get Naruto into the 160 times the speed of light. This, of course, as I mentioned, is a ridiculous lowball, and I'll begin to explain why. If we take the fact that Six Tails Naruto is vastly beyond Sage Mode Naruto, as we see within the fight against Pain, Six Tails does better than Sage Mode pretty blatantly. Even someone like Jiraiya, who is inferior to Sage Mode Naruto due to their performances against Pain, as well as statements supporting this fact that Sage Mode Naruto is above Jiraiya. After this, it's stated that Naruto and Pain should be in a class of their own, and what this basically implies is that there's no one in the story at that given time that is on par with Naruto and Pain. This becomes relevant when taking into account the fact that base Jiraiya is relative to Four Tails Naruto, which is consistent with Orochi.
Is he? I guess he's comparable to Four Tails but he got fucked up. He literally got a massive ass scar from that encounter.
Kimaru kind of holding his own against Four Tails Naruto. And this fact gets further proven when Jiraiya states that Four-Tails Naruto nearly killed Jiraiya at one point in their training, so Sage Mode should be above that of Four-Tails, around the level of a Five-Tailed Naruto. We also know that within the War Arc, the chakra cloaks that Naruto was handing out was above a 3x amp onto Kakashi. So using above a 3x amp, we can immediately assume a 4x amp off of each tail Naruto gains, which is actually a low ball when considering that this is one shinobi that Naruto lent chakra over to. We know that Naruto without Kurama should have at least 4 times more chakra than that of Kakashi. But with the added chakra of the Nine Tails, he has around 100 times more than that of Kakashi. Meaning that Kurama should...
And then he also gets the other half of Kurama as well, which boosts his chakra a hell of a lot more.
...have at least 25 times more chakra than that of Naruto. And since Sage Mode is around a 5 tails amp, so we take Naruto and Kurama's chakra difference, which is 25 times, multiply that by our lowballed QB chakra cloak amp, which is 4 times, and do that 5 times more, giving us a mode amp of 102,400 times. If we look at Naruto and Sasuke's first fight,
I feel like these numbers are getting out of hand.
Where Naruto used his one-tailed cloak form, Sasuke actually had to use the second stage of the curse mark to actually fight on par with One-Tails Naruto. The second stage of the curse is a 10 times amp as we established prior. So if we assume that the true one-tailed cloak is a 10 times amp rather than the 4 established by Kakashi during the War Arc, then we'd have the same multiplier but with 25 times 4. And then finally adding the 5-10 times amps on top of that.
That's
making
insane.
that 10 million times the speed of light.
That's insane.
Or in that MFTL plus ranges of speed. Of course, this is a highball and you can choose to use this level of speed. However, I'll leave this up to your interpretation. If we then assume that KCM1 is a 2 times difference off of Sage Mode and give that same treatment until the Sage of the Six Paths, then we'd end up with millions of times the speed of light, which, as I mentioned, should be up to your own interpretation. Not only this, but Naruto...
Well, we know that everybody in the late stage of Naruto is faster than the speed of light, or have reaction speeds faster than the speed of light.
Also has universal scaling that's probably worth
sure.
mentioning, as it's actually very similar to the metas that come up with Asta scaling. If we take the fact that Kaguya was going to destroy her Genesis dimensions to nothing, as the scan implies, then this would mean it's very space-time as well. This is supported by the fact that Zetsu also comments on the inclusion of said time-space, as we do know that Kaguya did indeed create these dimensions, which many people will argue that she didn't actually create them due to mistranslations with Viz, and saying that what she did was merely weave the dimensions like a thread.
I'm pretty sure that's stated as well, isn't it?
But the actual context behind this is weaving the dimensions like a thread within the context of knitting a sweater, meaning that it's still creation. Even if you denied this fact, she also was going to completely annihilate this realm and recreate it using your expansive truth-seeking orb, which, as we went over previously, also includes the dimension's very time-space as well. A time-space by necessity is 4th dimensional due to its dimensionality, with Universal Plus now being in the realm of possible
the scaling is getting
due to
out
a
of
time-space being 3 spatial dimensions and 1 temporal. She could potentially qualify for this level of power due to her actually scaling to the truth-seeking orb due to dimensions I mentioned earlier. This of course is up to your interpretation, and if you choose to go by the scaling I mentioned earlier, then it's entirely up to you. This was mostly just to show that Asta isn't the only one with a universal scaling meta.
Asta might...
That was a really roundabout way to say that Asta isn't the only one with the universal scaling. That was like, how long was that? Like 8 minutes? Give or take. No, it's about 10 minutes of explanation, and oh my god, man.
might be a lot more...
Okay, we better take Asta from where the manga is currently. Not before when the anime stopped. Current Asta. Otherwise, it's not a fair fight, because Naruto is as strong as he'll ever be. Until he gets... until they bring him back into Boruto. I know that was a spoiler, but fuck it. Oh well, not my problem. So yes, I'm just saying, we better bring him
Everybody knows
as strong
he's
as
the boy
possible.
with anti-magic and a massive sword.
That's a huge bitch!
But it's much more than that. He's also blessed with a body of immense physical strength, being so strong that as a child, he was able to do 1,000 one-armed handstand push-ups inside of a Grand Magic region.
If he was inside of One Punch Man, he'd be stronger than Saitama.
And magic regions are areas, kind of like national parks, but on cocaine and steroids, where it is hard for even established magic knights to breathe or walk through, even with reinforcement magic around them. And Asta, as a child with no powers, is training in that shit like it's his PE class. And he's probably a lot stronger than you think. Now, there are misconceptions about anti-magic in Black Clover. Yes, it does have aspects of power nullification and durability negation, but it still has attack potency, and Asta almost always scales to the power of his anti-magic. It's told to us
Duh, it's his only use of offensive power.
in chapter 4 of the manga that sure, he can negate any magic no matter how strong it is, but it does not negate the physical force that magic produces. Now, one of the early villains in Black Clover is the Fire Spirit Salamander. It is stated in the data book, which was made by the creator of Black Clover, that it was able to vaporize an ocean with a swing of its talon, as well as create a fireball the size of 1,000 Ri. Both of these are calculated.
The size of what? How big is that?
To
I
be
don't know.
worth many petatons of TNT, or even up to exatons of TNT, putting it in the multi-continental levels of attack potency.
Okay.
Mind you, this was a villain from almost 300 chapters ago, and Asta, at that time, scaled to it in his base form. Then, around 100 chapters later, a character known as Reeve would be introduced, the elven incarnation of Dorothy. Inside of her glamour world, she created moons, which should put her at least moon level. But if you go by the fact that Dorothy's glamour world really is a...
Nah, Dorothy is about multi-dimensional scaling of like strength, because she can do anything in her dimension, and I'm pretty sure she can make a black hole that can just absolutely destroy anything inside of there.
universe that she created.
I mean, she locks someone in there, creates a black hole, and then dips out. That person is fucked. Unless it's Yami and he has dimensional slash, which that's kind of unfair.
There are a bunch of stars in it. It could be that she's multi-solar system or even universal. Asta definitely scales above her, especially in his black form at that point. But the power progression of Black Clover will get even crazier in the Spade Saga, as it would introduce the King of Devils, Lucifero. He has 4 different statements where he's going to destroy the world. If you go by inverse scaling, he would be many thousands of times stronger than Reeve, who created moons, which should then imply that these statements are referring to him destroying the planet, not just destroying society. And Lucifero has now been power cliffed in the final saga of Black Clover. He's not even a top 10 powerful character anymore. And Asta, in his base form, is now many times stronger than him. In this video, I scaled how much stronger Asta has gotten, and if you stack the multipliers on his forms and techniques, he should be at least Dwarf Star level. When it comes to Asta's speed, he is one of the faster characters in modern shonen, as he was fighting fast and light characters as early as chapter 64, as Patri has multiple statements of being light speed, and Veto is stated to be on a whole other level than Patri. Later on, a character known as Meriliona had a feat where she's calculated to attack at 16 times the speed of
What the fuck is with all of the red lines?
light. Yet Asta was able to move a few hundred feet in the same time that it took her attacks to move a few inches. And that was his base speed over 200 chapters ago. Because anti-magic power increases in scale linearly with attack potency and speed, if we calculated what Asta's speed would be right now, it would be well into the massively faster than light plus speed tier.
I'm glad he said what that meant, because I was thinking of something completely different.
Probably even many millions or billions of times the speed of light. When it comes to abilities, it's obvious Asta has power nullification with his anti-magic.
Yes, and one of his swords can absorb like any magic. In this case, he can absorb Naruto's Rasengan and shoot it back
And it should work
as like a chakra beam of like energy, you know?
on chakra, even without burst equalization, as mana and chakra are similar enough. If Asta struck you with his Demon Dweller sword, it would absorb your magic or your
Yep.
chakra. He can also absorb attacks thrown at him and launch it back, giving that attack anti-magic properties. Meaning that, yeah, Asta in theory could absorb an attack from Naruto and launch it back at it even
And we all know how that went against Naruto when he was fighting Jigen and Ishiki.
stronger with the negation ability of anti-magic. But probably one of Asta's best abilities is the Demon Destroyer sword and its causality break, which lets him actually affect the physical causality of the universe. As when his church father was poisoned by magic, he actually negated the spell even after it was already gone. As he removed it from causality, by severing the cause and effect of it. He can also sever the cause and effect between one's magic power and themselves, essentially shutting off their magic power, rendering them
I forgot that he did that. So he gets injured enough and he uses that on himself, which I'm guessing he can. He can get rid of most of the damage, if not all of the damage, because he basically just negates all damage. Right? Am I understanding that correctly?
completely powerless. And he actually doesn't even need to touch them with the sword, as while he was fighting the Devil Twins, Lilith and Nama, they were actually physically intangible, yet he was able to teleport the anti-magic inside of them. When he fought the evil Wizard King Lucius, he was able to activate his causality break while Lucius was in the middle of teleporting. Asta can actually use the Demon Destroyer's causality break to heal himself, as when he was poisoned, he negated the cause and effect of that poison, so that it never poisoned him in the first place. With the Demon Slasher Katana, Asta can mimic Yami's abilities of Dimension Slash and forge his own Infinity Slash. Dimension Slash was durability negation, as it cut through dimensions and space, and because Asta is mimicking Yami's ability, he should have the same properties of durability negation, but even higher. On top of all of this, Asta has an ability called Zetin, which augments his power 10 to 100 times.
I was gonna say, that's 100 times multiplier.
During the activation. It's kind of similar to Kaioken. You can also use it to attack somebody's magic power directly to defeat them without even harming them. Speaking of Asta's technique mimicry, this is one of his most underrated abilities, as he can basically copy your ability just by seeing it a few times. He was able to learn ki sensing almost instantly after seeing Yami doing it. And while fighting Kyoto, he noticed that this guy had dance moves that made it so that when he...
But I don't think Naruto has anything that Asta would want to copy in the first place, because Naruto doesn't. I'm the only thing I can think of is his taijutsu, but I mean, Asta doesn't really need that, so I don't know. I honestly don't know.
Dance, it was hard to sense him, and also when he was attacked, the dance moves actually reduced the damage he took, and Asta was able to mimic this dance move nigh instantaneously. On top of all of this, Asta probably has fourth dimensional powers, as it is stated that Zenon's spatial magic can create hyperspaces, and later on, Lily gets a stronger spatial magic than Zenon, as she gets Beelzebub, the god of space, incarnated inside of her. Hyperspaces are spatial dimensions comprised of 4 dimensions or higher, and Lily actually thinks if she trapped Asta in a stronger version of this 4th dimensional cube, that it would not be powerful enough to actually contain Asta anyways.
So the winner of this matchup mainly depends on which speed meta you choose to.
No, it honestly depends on Asta's time limit. Because if Asta defeats Naruto within the time limit, Asta wins. If Naruto is able to outlast Asta's time limit, Asta wins.
Actually use. If you think Asta is way faster than the likes of Naruto, then while Naruto does outscale in AP, he wouldn't really be able to touch Asta, especially when Asta has things like Causality Break, where he can erase the attack and pretty much just make it so it never existed, which is assuming that he has his Demon Destroyer sword. Alongside this, he could also use things like spawning anti-magic inside Naruto, which would temporarily disable Naruto's chakra with verse equalizing. If, however, you think Naruto is indeed faster than Asta, then it wouldn't really matter whether Asta could erase Naruto's attacks if he couldn't actually react to it. I personally believe that Naruto just has more win cons for this specific matchup, as Naruto is superior in both AP as well as destructive capabilities, and my personal opinion is that he is faster than Asta. The only thing I could really say for Asta in particular is that if they are indeed closer in speed, then it would most likely just be a case of Naruto not being able to use his attacks and Asta not being able to land a hit on Naruto. And if we're not giving Asta his Demon Destroyer sword, then Naruto just wins. I don't really think this matchup isn't close by any means, although my personal opinion is that Naruto just has more win cons than Asta, and it'd probably end up being a win-loss ratio of around 70-30, with Naruto winning the majority of the time.
No,
With that out of the way, I'd like to
so.
say thanks to Broku
I feel like
for
he's a
coming
bit
onto this
biased.
video and doing the Black Clover portion of things. If you liked this video and you're a fan of Black Clover, go check out Broku's channel. He's the top dog when it actually comes to Black Clover content, and his content is really enjoyable, so go check him out. And bye.
Nah, I honestly believe that if it was a full-on bloodlusted fight, Asta wins. Even if you do like equal verse, like equal stats, Asta should win. But if Asta doesn't mind his time limit, he loses. It's been said many times. Like there's one dude on YouTube, I believe he's on TikTok as well. Let me try and find him. But his knowledge on like anime verses and the scaling is so immense that it shocks me every time he fucking comes on screen and he's like, okay guys, this dude beats this dude because of this reason, because I've looked in depth and studied their abilities to the T, and he's honestly not as biased as everybody else. Fuck, I don't think I can find him. I'll just like write it on the screen if I do find him. Okay, so let me know if who you guys think would win, Asta or Naruto. Me personally, I'm going with Asta. But if he doesn't mind his time limit, which is around 10 minutes, Naruto wins. So that is my answer.